Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy! Alright folks, here we are on Tuesday, April 23rd. We're going to take a look at Boeing today. So with earnings coming up, I thought we would check out the levels, the trend lines here on the Webull chart, and then flip over to the Think or Swim platform, take a look at that setup and indicators there, and call it a video. So we'll stay zoomed out here for a moment, and then we'll zoom in a little bit. If Boeing does move relatively sideways off of earnings, I'd look for it to maybe hit around 171.72 to the upside, and to the downside 167.16. Those are the nearest in support and resistance levels that I have. Now, if it does drop below 167.16, confirms resistance there, or skips it altogether on a big gap down or something, 160.80, 152.91, and then 142.55. Now, I know that I charted quite a big percentage down and a large percentage up. That's not meant to say that I think it's going to go that full stretch just based off of the earnings in one day. But if it does continue or set itself in a direction for the next days or weeks ahead, I wanted this chart to sort of last a while. And so that's why there's such a big spread from top to bottom. Now, if it decides that it wants to get jumpy and push upward, well, first of all, through that 171.72. So if it gets through that 178.71, and then it does encounter this downtrend resistance. It's been reasonably strong in spurts lately. This one is, to me, sort of really important because this was just sort of sticking itself to this downtrend resistance, and then when it bounced off of 178.71 and knocked its head for a few candles into that downtrend resistance, it really respected that. So if it can break through there, then it's breaking through at least a currently or recently strong trend. And if it can get through there, then we have 190.25, 196.95, 209.29, 217.69. Interestingly, there's not sort of an exact psychological marker that I have, at least. In other words, 175, these nice sort of square or common numbers, 200 level, right? I don't see that as being playing a big factor. I see this 196 and this 209 as being stronger, but just keep in mind that could certainly come and play a role. You do see there is a lot of price action right around that 200 level, right? Both back here and here. And so, that could certainly be the case just because it is a psychological level, but to me, I think that the approach to 200 and then the holding above 200 look stronger to me. So those are the levels that I see, and if we zoom in here, you can sort of get a better sense of how tight in these levels for support and resistance are. And then, like I said, if it were to do this tomorrow, it would be about where my cursor is. So if it were to rise to that 178.71, it would bump into that resistance level at about 183, 184, something like that. And so, again, I don't know that it can make it that far in one fell swoop. But if it does continue on a path in the coming days and weeks, that's something to maybe keep an eye on. Now, on the Think or Swim side of things, here you can see this intense run up right to 267 that was kicked off around 180 or so. Intense run up, spent a bunch of time out of the channel, and then when it drew back in, it just gave it all back, right through the bottom of the channel. Pretty intense motion there. Appears to be potentially catalyst driven. I don't exactly recall what was happening here, if that was bad news about bolts on the doors or something, I don't know. But that's just, it has the appearance of falling so seamlessly through a channel after spending a bunch of time out of the upper bound of the channel. Often looks like it was a catalyst driven move. But in any case, sidestepped its way back into the channel, tested the mid-range, got pinned underneath. This is where it gave back all of the gains, right? Right here, it's back to where it was before it kicked off this big move. And then it, bounced off of there, like a natural bounce area, right? The previous swing bottom. And then came into the channel, tested the mid-range again, rejected it, and now is back out of the channel, having lost more than where it kicked off that big run up previously. So quite an intense motion there. We didn't get a trigger and fire until right in this area, so not playing a big factor there on the TTM squeeze indicator. But where we are right now is I don't know that it's a similar motion, but it is in a similar-ish way, trying to sidestep its way in like it did up here. It's just kind of moving sideways, getting itself back into the channel sort of yesterday and today. And the question is, of course, can it make a run at the mid-range of the channel, which right now is situated at 177.05. So the bounds of this channel, or the areas of this channel, may also play a role. You see 185.51 is the upper bound of the channel, so if it does push upward, it may hit some resistance there. The lower bound is right about where it is right now, so I can't see exactly, but it's somewhere around like 169-ish level. And today, per the volume stack at least, showing that more sell volume coming in for what that's worth. So we'll see if it's going to, like I said, make any motion up into the channel, or if it's going to push off of this red wave cloud. Really all that it's doing right now is, yeah, it's in the channel, but if it were to reject off of this, that would just have the appearance of having been outside of the channel, sidestepped its way in, and then rejected off of the wave cloud, which often means, or can mean, that there's additional bearish momentum that needs to be exhausted before it's going to be able to make that full, clean sweep back in to test the mid-range of the channel. And even when it tests it, it may reject it like it did here and lose further price. So, I'm pretty keen to see what it does with this wave cloud and then with the mid-range of the channel if that comes into play. But it is quite interesting, I guess the other thing to mention on that run up there, and then losing more than where it started, it's going to be interesting to see, based off of the actual numbers in the report itself, how much folks feel like that sell-off was overdone, was an overreaction, versus, if the report comes out in such a way that makes people feel that that's a really warranted move, right? That it should have lost all of this market cap and share value, and, maybe just sort of like another reason to continue it on in that direction. So that's going to heavily rely on what the actual report itself says. But, I always say sort of like, be aware of the possibility of something being priced in and it sort of appearing to be a weird reaction for that reason. And then also be aware that if the market generally feels like, yeah, it should have been selling off, and the earnings report basically backs that up and gives us more reason to inflict put it back on the pain train, then that there might be sort of like a quick impetus to do that. So we'll see soon enough. But it's just interesting how something like a steep run up into earnings or a steep sell off into earnings can sort of cut both ways, right? It can be seen as an overreaction, things being priced in, whatnot, or it can be sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy when the report comes out and folks say, yep, we were very justified for running it up, we were very justified for selling it off, and we're going to continue to do that, based off of the earnings, and put more momentum behind that move. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.